Back in 2021, Max Verstappen said something that sounded impossible. He said, "I only work with him. As soon as he stops, I stop too." Now imagine that same man, the voice in Max's ear during every title fight, every angry radio moment, every pressure call, is reportedly leaving Red Bull. And not just for any team, for McLaren. If this is true, then this is not just another staff transfer. This could be the moment Red Bull's entire Verstappen era starts to crack for real. Because when you look at the timing, the name's already gone, and where Max is right now, this story suddenly becomes much bigger than one engineer changing jobs. It starts to look like Red Bull losing the last person Verstappen truly trusted. According to multiple reports, Giampiero Lambiase is set to join McLaren. Red Bull have not officially confirmed it. McLaren have not officially confirmed it. But when several major outlets are all pointing in the same direction at once, people inside Formula One start paying attention very quickly. And for Red Bull, this is the kind of story that hits far harder than a normal departure. Because Lambiase is not just another engineer, he is the engineer. He has been Max Verstappen's race engineer since that famous 2016 Spanish Grand Prix, the race where Verstappen won on his Red Bull debut and announced himself to the sport in the loudest way possible. Since then, the Verstappen-Lambiase partnership has become one of the defining relationships of modern Formula One. 10 years, 71 wins, 4 world championships. That is not a normal driver-engineer pairing. That is one of the strongest competitive partnerships the sport has seen in years. And what made it special was not that they were always calm with each other. It was the opposite. They challenged each other. They argued. They pushed back. Their radio was often tense, sometimes brutal. But it worked because both of them trusted the other to be honest under pressure. In Formula One, that kind of trust is priceless. And when a driver publicly says, "As soon as he stops, I stop too," that tells you everything about how deep that bond really goes. And this is where the story becomes dangerous for Red Bull, because Lambiase is not reportedly leaving for a midfield team. He is not disappearing into the background. He is going to the team that has already spent the last few years quietly pulling pieces out of Red Bull's championship machine. First Rob Marshall, then Will Courtney, and now potentially Lambiase. Honey's that is designer, strategy brain, and Verstappen's own race engineer. 3 different disciplines, 3 major people. One team, McLaren. That is not random recruitment. That is a blueprint transfer. And that is what makes McLaren's move so smart. They are not trying to guess how Red Bull built a title-winning operation. They are reportedly hiring the people who built it and letting them build it again in Woking. That is the kind of move teams make when they are no longer chasing a one-off title. That is the kind of move teams make when they are trying to stay at the top for years. If Lambiase really does arrive there, McLaren are not just adding experience, they are adding the man who lived every championship battle from the inside with Verstappen. He knows what elite operations look like under pressure, and he knows how Red Bull handled race weekends at the sharpest end, and he knows how a title-winning driver thinks when everything is on the line. That knowledge is not easy to replace. But this is not only about McLaren getting stronger, it is about Red Bull getting emptier. Because when you zoom out, Lambiase is not the first big name to leave. He is part of a pattern that is starting to look brutal. Adrian Newey is gone. Christian Horner is gone. Jonathan Wheatley is gone. Helmut Marko is gone. Matt Collier is gone. Ole Shack is gone. And now Lambiase may be going too. That is not a reshuffle. That is not a few people moving on. That is the slow dismantling of the inner circle that surrounded Verstappen during Red Bull's dominant years. And for Max, that part matters more than almost anything else. Because drivers do not only trust teams, they trust people, specific people. The same voices, the same mechanics, the same engineers, the same personalities around them every weekend. Once those people start disappearing one by one, the feeling of stability disappears with them. And this is why the timing is so bad. If Red Bull were still crushing the field, maybe this story feels survivable. But they are not. The source paints a Red Bull team that has not won in 2026, is struggling through a new power unit era, and has Verstappen sitting 9th in the championship. That alone changes everything. Because when a team is winning, departures can be hidden by results. When a team is wobbling, every departure starts to feel like proof that something deeper is wrong. And then you add Verstappen himself. Like, he is not exactly sounding like a man fully committed to spending the rest of this era quietly rebuilding. The source says Verstappen has openly talked about other racing categories, about wanting to do events like the Nürburgring 24 hours, and about his frustration with the current regulations. There are also reports that his Red Bull contract may contain clauses that could allow an early exit. So now think about the full picture. The car is not where it should be. The people around him are leaving. The engineer he once said he could not race without is reportedly heading to his biggest rival. And that rival is not standing still. It is building, hiring, and stacking championship-level knowledge on top of championship-level momentum. That is why this is not just a staffing story, this is a pressure story, a loyalty story, and a future story. Because once the final trusted people around a champion begin to disappear, the conversation changes from "can Red Bull recover?" to "how long does Verstappen still see this as his team?" There's also another layer here that makes McLaren's move even more fascinating. Reports suggest Lambiase's role would be significant from day one, and there is already talk that his long-term future could become even bigger depending on how McLaren's leadership structure evolves. So McLaren may not just be hiring a race engineer level figure. They may be placing a senior competitive mind inside the team at exactly the right time, while they are already building from a position of strength. And that is the nightmare scenario for Red Bull. Not only losing one of the most important people from the Verstappen era, but losing him to the one team that seems to understand exactly how to turn Red Bull's old strengths into McLaren's future advantage. So, if this move is confirmed, remember what it really means. It means the voice Verstappen trusted most is gone. It means another pillar of Red Bull's golden era has fallen away. It means McLaren are no longer just beating Red Bull on track. They are reportedly pulling key parts of Red Bull's brain into their own garage. And it means Verstappen's future suddenly becomes an even bigger question than it already was. Because back in 2021, Max said, "As soon as he stops, I stop too." Lambiase has not stopped. But if he really has chosen McLaren, then Red Bull may have just learned something even more dangerous. Sometimes the end of an era does not arrive with one dramatic explosion. Sometimes it happens piece by piece, person by person, until the whole thing no longer looks like the team that built a champion in the first place.